Have you ever wondered, what if someone you lost still found a way to tell you they loved you? What if every night at exactly midnight, a letter appeared on your doorstep, written by someone who was no longer alive? Tonight's story is about love, a love that refused to end. Today's story is the letter that arrived every midnight. Welcome to Simi Xina, a place where every night becomes a journey, every story brings peace, and every ending leaves a little light in your heart. Now, get comfortable. Take a slow, deep breath. Close your eyes if you would like, and let the story begin. Emma had stopped believing in miracles a long time ago. 5 years had passed since she lost the love of her life, Daniel. Some people said time heals everything. Emma knew that was not true. Time did not erase memories. It simply taught you how to carry them without breaking down every day. She still lived in the same small cottage on the edge of a quiet town. The little white house was surrounded by lavender flowers, just the way Daniel had planted them years before. Every evening, after finishing work at the local bookstore, Emma made herself a cup of warm tea and sat beside the living room window. From there, she could see the moon rising above the trees. It had become her nightly routine. The silence no longer frightened her. It had become part of who she was. There were no photographs on the walls anymore. She could not bear to look at them every day. But inside the top drawer of her bedside table, hidden beneath a folded blue scarf, rested a silver ring. Daniel had asked her to marry him only 3 weeks before the accident. She had said yes without hesitation. They had planned everything: a tiny wedding, a small house, a garden filled with roses and lavender, a life together. But life had chosen another ending. One rainy evening, Daniel never came home. The accident took him before he could even say goodbye. Since that day, Emma never opened her heart to anyone else. People told her to move on. She smiled politely, but deep inside, she wondered, how do you move on from the person who felt like home? That night, the wind was unusually calm. The clock slowly ticked toward midnight. 11:58 a.m. 11:59 a.m. Then 12. At that exact moment, someone knocked on the front door. Just once. Soft, almost gentle. Emma frowned. Who would visit at midnight? She wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and walked toward the door. When she opened it, no one was there. The street was completely empty. Only the quiet sound of the wind hootled through the lavender flowers. She was about to close the door when something caught her eye. Lying neatly on the wooden doorstep was a single white envelope. There was no stamp, no address, only 2 words written in beautiful handwriting: for Emma. Her hands began to tremble because she recognized that handwriting instantly. It belonged to Daniel, the man who had died 5 years ago. Emma slowly picked up the envelope. Her heart raced louder with every breath. She whispered to herself, "This cannot be possible." Yet somehow, deep inside, she already knew. This was only the first letter. Emma stood frozen in the doorway. The cold night air brushed against her face, but she barely felt it. Her eyes remained fixed on the white envelope resting in her trembling hands. The handwriting. There was no mistake. Every curved letter, every graceful stroke of the ink looked exactly the way Daniel used to write. Her heartbeat grew louder. "This cannot be real," she whispered. She stepped back inside, gently closed the door, and sat beside the fireplace. For several minutes, she simply stared at the envelope. Part of her wanted to open it. Another part was terrified of what she might find inside. Finally, with shaky fingers, she broke the seal. Inside was a single piece of cream-colored paper. The familiar scent of lavender drifted into the room. Daniel had always sprayed a little lavender perfume on every letter he wrote. Emma's eyes instantly filled with tears. She slowly unfolded the page. The letter began, "My dear Emma, if you are reading this, then somehow this letter has found you exactly when it was meant to. Please do not be afraid. I know you are wondering how this is possible. For now, I only need you to trust your heart, the same heart that once promised to love me forever." Emma stopped reading. Tears rolled silently down her cheeks. No one else knew those words. On the night Daniel proposed, he had smiled and whispered, "Promise me your heart will always find mine." She had laughed through happy tears and answered, "Forever." No one had heard that conversation. No one. She continued reading. "Do you remember the little cafe by the lake? You ordered hot chocolate, even though it was the middle of summer. You said it tasted like childhood." Emma smiled through her tears. She had never told another soul about that day. Every tiny detail was perfect. Every memory belonged only to them. At the bottom of the page were a few final words. "I will write to you again tomorrow night. Until then, do not stop looking at the stars. Love always, Daniel." Emma clutched the letter against her chest. For the first time in 5 years, she did not feel completely alone. The next evening, she could not concentrate at work. She kept glancing at the old clock above the bookstore shelves. Time seemed to move painfully slowly. When she finally returned home, she made tea as usual, but instead of sitting by the window, she waited beside the front door. 11:58 a.m., 11:59 a.m. Then, a soft knock. Just once, Emma rushed outside. Again, no one. Only another white envelope waiting quietly on the doorstep. And from that night on, every single midnight, a new letter arrived. Each one revealed a memory no stranger could possibly know. Each one sounded exactly like Daniel. But one question continued to haunt Emma's heart. If Daniel was truly gone, then who was writing these impossible letters? The secret he left behind. For the next 2 weeks, the letters never failed to arrive. Every night, exactly at midnight, there was one gentle knock at the door. By the time Emma opened it, no one was ever there. Only another white envelope, waiting quietly on the doorstep. Each letter carried a memory. One spoke about the afternoon they danced in the kitchen because the electricity had gone out. Another reminded her of the tiny puppy they had rescued during a thunderstorm. One letter even mentioned the shooting star they had wished upon the night Daniel proposed. No one else knew these moments. They belonged only to them. Slowly, something inside Emma began to change. For the first time in years, she smiled again. She opened the curtains every morning. She watered the lavender flowers Daniel had planted. She even started laughing with customers at the bookstore. It felt as if Daniel was somehow helping her live again. But one question refused to leave her mind. Where were these letters coming from? One rainy afternoon, Emma decided to visit Daniel's mother. The old woman welcomed her with a warm hug and a gentle smile. As they talked over tea, Emma finally gathered the courage to ask, "Did Daniel ever leave anything behind for me?" His mother became very quiet. For a long moment, she simply looked out the window. Then, without saying a word, she walked upstairs. A few minutes later, she returned carrying a small wooden box. It was covered in dust. Emma had never seen it before. His mother placed it carefully on the table. "This belonged to Daniel," she whispered. "He asked me to keep it safe." Emma slowly opened the box. Inside were dozens of neatly folded letters. Each one had a small date written in the corner. There were birthday letters, Christmas letters, letters for difficult days, letters for days when Emma would feel lonely, and one small note resting on top. With trembling hands, Emma unfolded it. It read, "Mom, if anything ever happens to me, please do not give these letters to Emma all at once. She will try to read them in a single night. Instead, leave one letter outside her door every midnight. I do not want her to remember me with only tears. I want her to feel that I am still walking beside her, one night at a time." Emma covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Every letter, every midnight, every memory, it had all been Daniel's final gift. A way of loving her, even after he was gone. But as Emma gently looked inside the wooden box, she noticed something unexpected. There was only one letter left. It was different from all the others. The envelope simply read, "Open this only when you are finally ready to let me go." Emma held it close to her heart, but she could not bring herself to open it. Not yet, because deep inside, she knew that the final letter would also be the hardest goodbye of all. Every morning, she looked at it. Every night, she placed it back inside the wooden box. She was not afraid of reading Daniel's last words. She was afraid of what they would mean, because once she opened the final letter, there would be no more midnight knocks, no more white envelopes, no more waiting. It would truly be goodbye. A week later, on a quiet Sunday evening, Emma walked to the small hill where she and Daniel had watched the stars so many times before. She carried a blanket, a cup of warm tea, and the final letter. The sky was clear. Thousands of stars filled the darkness above her. The same stars Daniel had once called our forever ceiling. Emma smiled softly. Then, with trembling hands, she opened the envelope. Inside was one last letter. It began, "My dearest Emma, if you have opened this letter, then I am already proud of you. It means you have smiled again. You have started living again. And that was always my greatest wish." Emma's tears quietly fell onto the paper. She continued reading. Love was never meant to become a prison. If remembering me keeps you from living, then you are not carrying my love. You are carrying your pain, and I never wanted that for you. Emma took a slow, shaky breath. The wind gently turned the next page. Promise me something. When spring arrives, plant new flowers. Travel somewhere we have never been. Laugh until your stomach hurts. Take too many photographs. Drink hot chocolate in the middle of summer, just because it reminds you of us. A small laugh escaped through her tears. That sounded exactly like Daniel. Then she reached the final lines. One day, someone may walk into your life. Do not close the door because of me. Real love never asks someone to stay lonely forever. If your heart chooses to love again, know this: you are not replacing me. You are carrying forward everything we shared. Because the greatest proof that I loved you is that I still want you to be happy. So this is my last letter, not because I have stopped loving you, but because it is time for you to stop searching for me in yesterday and start finding yourself in tomorrow. Whenever you miss me, look at the stars. You do not have to speak. I will already know. Thank you for giving me a beautiful life. Until we meet again. Forever yours, Daniel. Emma slowly folded the letter. She looked up at the night sky. For the first time in 5 years, she did not ask why he had left. She simply whispered, "Thank you." The wind gently carried the scent of lavender through the air. It felt almost like a warm goodbye. Months passed. Emma planted new flowers around the cottage. She traveled to the little seaside town they had always dreamed of visiting. She laughed more. She cried less. And every now and then, she still looked at the stars. Not because she was waiting for another letter, but because she knew some love stories never truly end. They simply stop being written on paper and begin living quietly inside our hearts. The end. Sometimes, the greatest act of love is giving someone the strength to keep living after you are gone.